What's going on? Move the Mouse here, back in City Skylines, the town of Springdale, episode number 9 of our Season 4 Let's Play. And I did do a bit offline, not too much, but I kept kind of extending this grid network out. I did spin up a new office block over here between residential and the highway, and I got a little carried away and ended up deleting the industrial space. And I think that was there at the end of the last episode. But I let it kind of play out long enough to kind of sort out some of our population, and we're back up around 45,000 now. We were kind of going through a death wave, had extra cemeteries turned on for that, and now that the pollution is gone over here, I also spun up a little neighborhood. We'll call it Little Italy, and somebody had suggested this in the comments. I thought this was a good idea. So if we go into the inspector tool and go into districts, you can actually say what types of buildings will be there. So we have the default style, which is whatever the map enables. You have European and European suburbia. So we're going to go with high density over here. Still staying with high density, but European look to the building. So we'll see if that does anything too drastically different there. I think it'll look more of an impact if we did the European suburbs, for example, if we end up doing some low density maybe across the river at some point. I'm not going to zone off right here next to the highway, but I do want to have kind of a little neighborhood of basically what will be apartments up here, kind of close to the highway, and then we can fill in kind of the gaps with some trees and shelter them a little bit from the noise of the highway over here, though there's not too much traffic, but it's still, there's not too much traffic here. It's still going to have some noise just because it is highway traffic, and you can see kind of the congestion around the highway itself, and the three-way interchange is creating some. So what we could do to help them out a little bit is upgrade these to highways with sound barriers. So let's at least do that for the main highway segment that's closest to here. We'll go a little bit past it on either side, just to reduce the spillover of noise just a little bit. Let's do that. Let's take a look at what that looks like. If we go back into our info views, we're still on noise. You can see that drastically reduces the impact right there. Let's do the same thing with this highway segment coming in and out of the city, just for the heck of it, just to see what happens. And then if we go back into our info views, we should see over a pretty short period it reduces the noise, which is good. So that people shouldn't be complaining too much. It's actually worse for them kind of living on these main avenues than it is right next to this highway, once it has the sound barriers in place. So that will give us a good start. Zoning wise, our demands are pretty well met, but we are kind of filling up space immediately as soon as it pops up, because we've got a little bit of spare zoning of everything. Down here, this has started to fill out as well. So we've got some IT cluster offices right near the waterfront, some smaller offices behind that, and then some commercial zones. And then I stamped out a residential area over here. Again, high density in these kind of blocky grids near the river. And then once we continue to grow out the city, we can start to think about, at this point, maybe some low density residential, maybe even a town tucked in that little highway loop. Not sure yet, but the big focus here was to really build up a big downtown area, big buildings surrounding Central Park, and I think we're well on our way to that, which is nice. So, as far as ways we can solve some of the traffic problems, I did also do one other thing that I should mention. I know some of you will be disappointed, because I just wanted to cheat the system for now, because we haven't built everything out, and we've got a couple metro loops. And I know some of you are super bored with the metro loops, but again, this is just kind of placeholder for now. This is not ultimately where things are going to sit in the city. I'm just trying to build so we can get ready for park life and make this kind of surrounding area as dense as possible. Once we have that kind of built out, say all the way up to the highway, maybe even a little bit across the river, What is up with the water on this map? It's so weird. Every time I look, I feel like every time I come by here, somebody's parting the Red Sea. This is not how water works. But we can kind of start plotting out some blocks over here. It's still relatively flat and should give us a nice grid structure surrounding the river. But so far, so good. We can start building up here also. I think that would be nice. Maybe have a little bit of winding roads that kind of work with the hills, but I'm not 100% sure what I want to do with that just yet. Before we get too committed to the grid, let's take care of this cemetery. But I do want to start to think about trains or monorails, something like that. Do we not have a crematorium servicing this? Let's do it. Move some people out. We've got crematoriums up here that are providing coverage. Let's see. And then we did a double. Oh, I did quad crematoriums and 2 cemeteries down here. That was in preparation for the death wave that we had approaching while I was doing a little bit of building offline. It was definitely cropping up. Let's see where that's at. So city info, statistics, population still on the rise. Excellent. And you can see we're on the decline from a death wave that happened. And they get bigger and bigger and bigger until your population kind of gets where it will get, and your city kind of evens out, and you'll still have a death wave. They just won't get bigger generally. They'll stay pretty consistent at that point, but it always presents some problems. Now here's what the European buildings look like. So let's see if we have, do we have any non-green residential? I don't think we have any non-green residential in the city yet. So the best thing we can compare to are the green buildings here. And then over here, we've got the European style buildings that are cropping up. You can see they have a very different look or feel, and I thought that would be kind of nice to kind of tuck this little neighborhood up here and have a little bit different aesthetic appeal. Now, before I forget, another thing that I want to do is maybe we can go with the old school elementary up here. A little cheaper, a little smaller, and probably fits a little better with the look here, rather than having the community school, right? Which is gigantic. It does barely fit on that block, but it doesn't quite work with the older style buildings, and I think this definitely works better. We'll drop a high school in over here also, since we're getting pretty close. Wow, there is one right there. We have a lot of high schools. Let's throw one more on the corner here, just to service this neighborhood. Because we can always build this out with more residential, if we wanted to. And we do have a couple of our first residents. These are the regular buildings, the non-green buildings. So I take it back, we do have some of them moving in the map. These are regular. These are green. Obviously, these are higher level now. And then these are the European style. We need to get power up to that high school. I'm sure they would appreciate that. If they want to get any work done, it's good to have the lights on. So let's run this up by the highway. That worked out very well. We didn't have to overwrite anything. I take it back. Is it not going to let me... It'll let me do a 90-degree bend, but not over there. All right. Fine. Fine game. Be that way. Let's get schools in down here before we have to move people out for it. Just so that there's good coverage all around the map. Down here we can do the regular elementaries also. Let's throw that right there. We'll put a high school right next to it. And then this area should be well covered for now. We can probably throw another one. You know what? Let's just throw another one down here for when this eventually fills out. I don't think it's going to hurt. It should be fine. Let's look at power spread over here. We'll connect this up for now. We can delete this later. Ooh, we don't have police coverage down here, I would guess, which means that we probably also don't have healthcare, fire, and police. So let's fix those. Let's see, where do we want to do these? Can we cram them in? We can't cram them in on that angled block, unfortunately. We could do it if we did it over here, because we haven't built the side streets out yet. Let's throw them right here in the center of this this last block. I think that will do the trick. This could be kind of a service block. Maybe we can cram a park in here. In fact, let's do that. Let's find a big park that we can drop in. Okay, let's find a slightly smaller park that we can drop in. Can we put it on the angle? I made that angle really funny. Won't let me quite drop it in there. So let's put it as close as we can without affecting that end of the street zoning. We'll do one there. And then let's throw one up over in the middle of here. Make our residents happy. Now what we could do is break out, I don't do this often enough, the footpaths and actually connect some of these. So let's do the gravel path. So right now, if I wanted to go to that park, I'd have to walk all the way around the block because the AI doesn't know how to come at it from anywhere other than the street connection. You can connect these little nodes though, right like that. Now they can get there from that side. Now they can get here from there. If we wanted to, we could even do a little footpath through, but I don't think that's necessary. Oh, 50,000. Excellent. So this gets us some fun stuff. Nuclear power plant. Yay. New area and cargo hub. So those are all very good things. Wait a minute. Oh, this is cargo harbor. I was like, wait, do we already unlock the cargo hub? We didn't. We unlocked cargo harbor, and now we have cargo hub, which is technically under shipping. So cargo hub has a train facility as well built into it. Now we don't have external train lines, but if we spin up a industrial park somewhere, we could have a cargo hub there, or a train cargo hub, I should say, and then bring that stuff back and forth via train on an internal network down here. So that's not an immediate need right now. We don't have an industrial park. I removed it, so we're not going to worry about that just yet. We could connect this school just so it looks a little bit more appealing, right? Even though nobody's there yet. We've got a ton of industry demand. We could do some more office space. It's been working out well for us. And a little bit of commercial demand climbing up. Maybe we could continue to slant this up this way, or we could always come off of it at a 90-degree angle and kind of change this around a little bit. Maybe we could start building over here. This might be good. Let's get some of this going. Let's see what we can do. We've got plenty of room towards the side of the map. So we'll do our 6-lane roads with the bike lanes, of course. And maybe we'll curve it. I want to kind of keep it on the edge there, but not so close to the edge that it's not fully zonable. Wind it around a little bit. So that should give us plenty of room to work with. Trying to think, what's a nice natural barrier over here? Kind of that hillside. Be nice if we can kind of work with that. Maybe that little clearing of trees over there. Let's see where this next tile goes to. That wouldn't be too bad if we built like up to this as the top of our map. So we'll probably buy this. This will be tile 5. Then maybe 6, 7, 8. Right? Am I counting right? No, we own 5. So 6, 7, 8, and down below that 9, maybe? I'm thinking. But let's look over here. We could kind of build up into those mountains. The problem with that is if we build that way, we can't, and we don't buy the tile to the top of it, we can't really hook into this highway very easily because it can only touch one side of the highway, and just barely. So that's a little inefficient. Over here, if we start building down this way, we have access to that highway, which looks like is an external connection to the map. So that could be all right. Would be fun to build down by that beach, but I don't think we're going to get there with the tiles that we have, at least not in this particular build where the focus, again, it's all about that central park. So what do we do? Tons of industrial demand. Let's see, where do we have... We've got a little office park here, over here, over here. We could throw up some over here on this side of the river. That might be all right. We need to move these buildings at some point too. These are just uniques that I was kind of cramming in there. We've got to find a spot for those at some point down the road. I kind of like the look of the high-rise towers, the IT clusters right there on the water. Kind of feels very Chicago-esque. If you've ever been to Chicago and you kind of follow the river through the city, definitely some of the biggest high-rises are right there on the waterfront. It's tough to know where to go. I had this very clear vision of what I wanted to do with this first part, but I want to kind of break up this grid a little bit, right? Not continue this pattern. I kind of wanted to follow the river there, but I want to kind of break it up and find a way to make it meet in the middle. What might be nice, and somebody had commented this, is obviously this build, again, all about the central park, but kind of saving some space maybe for a massive park over here. Not quite maybe as massive, but, you know, maybe at least 2 blocks. Like those 2 blocks right there, like that space right over here or over here in our residential area. It definitely would be good to sort of do that. But rather than continue to be indecisive, let's extend this out one more time so that the 6-lane roads kind of carry traffic through here. We'll just bring it all the way up to the edge of the map for right now. That is fine. And then let's start to figure out kind of some block structure back in here. So we'll go over to our 2-lane roads. Switch over to my straight tool for now. And we'll come out so that we don't overlap that zoning. We'll leave a little bit of extra space. Start connecting up some grids here. Let's see. Leaving a little bit more room over here than we did in the main downtown area. Things can start to get a little bit spaced out. Let's see, what was this? 30 units? A little bit different size block from what we were working with on the other part of town. And let's see this. So this is going to start to eat into that zoning up there on that street. So let's curve this in maybe. Like that. That's pretty close. It eats a couple zones up here on the road that we just put down. But it's a pretty good use of that space. That should work. We'll continue the grid over this way. I do want to do a video in the near future on kind of road hierarchy. Not that I'm the best at adhering to it all the time, but sort of the principles of designing some of these roads, kind of forcing people onto the 6-lane roads, why the AI kind of chooses what they do choose to drive, and trying to figure out some tips and tricks for the best way to kind of lay out some cities, whether it is with blocks like this or, you know, more curvy suburb type neighborhoods. You can still apply the same principles, even if it isn't, you know, a quote unquote grid. You can still be very loose with the streets, but still have the same sort of hierarchy. But just as a quick kind of rundown, you have your highways, which you want to move people as far as possible. Then you have, you know, your main arterial roads that kind of run traffic, just like the arteries run blood through your system. The arteries of your city from a road network, you want that to move people, you know, as far as possible before they get on to the smaller side streets. So some of that is just how you design streets, right? How they come off the highway. They're going to want to choose the faster lanes first, which tend to be the larger the road, the faster the traffic. It tends to be the fastest way to get there. But you also want, you know, some 2-lane streets so everything's not 6-lane, and kind of zone things off as part of it. So it's not just how you design the roads, it's how you design the zones. You have things like residence, commercial, office space. We don't have any industrial here, but you got to think about where people are and where they want to get to. AI doesn't visit other residents, so they don't need to get from a green zone to a green zone. They need to get from green to work, which is either commercial or office space or industrial if we had it. And then they need to potentially come back home, maybe stopping at commercial along the way, entertainment spots, leisure spots, before they eventually end up back home. So you need to kind of not only design a successful road network when you want to get up into the really big populations, but then zoning is half of the battle that goes along with it. Speaking of zoning, while I'm talking and we're wasting time here, we're not growing as fast as we could because we have all of that demand happening. Let's start to zone some of this off. And I think what we could do over here by the water is maybe do something a little bit different. So since we have a ton of commercial and industrial demand, let's kind of meet that here in this square, but let's do something a little different. Let's break out the district tool and we will paint all of this for now. And let's give our citizens some nightlife to enjoy. So where is it? It was there. Leisure. We'll mark this as a leisure spot. And yeah, that should be good. That's okay. We'll try and keep the noise kind of on the water so it doesn't bother people. So let's switch back over to our zoning tool. And we'll basically make this block all the way down the waterfront. That one too. Little nightclub. Happy little nightclub. And we'll do everything on that road as leisure spots. And then we have all of that industrial demand. So we'll meet that with the office space. And that reminds me that this is probably a good time to check our education capacity. I know high school and elementary are okay, or at least close to the green. If not, we did have an influx of residents, but we want to check on our university because I think that's getting pretty close to capacity. And it may be time to at least drop another university building in. If not, find a spot for our next university campus build. So if I was a university, where would I want to live? Maybe we could do a fun one up on the hill with some monorails and getting around a gigantic campus, some tram cars and monorails, things like that. Education-wise, I was going to do it from pulling up the buildings, but let's just pull up the info views. It's easier. So we're in the red again. So it looks like we could maybe use another elementary up here. People are pretty educated elsewhere. These people just moved in, so that's kind of why. I think we could use another one up here. We've got a good saturation of basically every single block has one almost. So maybe another one over here. So we can put it right next to the high school. Perfect. Do not play in the traffic, kids. Oh, this is perfect. Right there next to the highway. You swing a little too far. You probably won't get over that retaining wall. It should be fine. Please don't call OSHA or, I don't know, whatever agency would prevent this sort of thing from happening in real life, because I'm pretty sure this is a no-no. But they'll let us get away with it in cities, so let's not worry too much about it. Let's go back over here and water this, because I'm pretty sure it is not. It is not. So we'll just kind of run this along the coastline for now. That is fine. That's all covered. Pretend that you didn't see this mess of pipes. Just in case we grid over there. Okay, so there's no messy pipes under here. It's a perfect grid. Don't worry about that. So we've got office space cropping up over here. Let's check our services coverage. Health-wise, we're pretty good. So I think we could use a waterfront hospital over here. And then, fire-wise, again, pretty good coverage all around the map, except for that new neighborhood that we spun up. We'll do the same thing over here. You want to move in next to the hospital, that's fine. Didn't even get time to put the other buildings down. And then we'll throw probably police coverage over here too. Yeah, it gets a little bit into the gray, so there's our little service block. And I was just going to spread power to it, but it looks like it should be fine. So that may not be a bad spot for a little university campus also. We could kind of carry things up here. Might be a cool spot. We can kind of come in over the bridge. We do have, where's our university up here? It's over here, and we do have space to build a campus right there if we wanted. That wouldn't be bad. That might be a nice little use of this space up by the highway. Okay, put the fires out. We don't need this burning down. We need people moving in. There's nothing like a marshmallow-looking charred building to drive down the real estate prices. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate ya. So this is a good spot, I think. I want to keep things moving. Want to keep things growing. I'll try not to do too much building off camera. But we'll kind of keep posting as often as I can. I was initially going to shoot for Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I can't. I have to do more often. I can't not share with you kind of what I'm doing. And I got a little carried away building offline, so apologies there. Let's see. Where's our power at? It might be time for our first nuclear power plant. Budget-wise, we still have the healthcare up. Let's turn that down, make some money for the city. If you raise the budget on uniques, does that do better with more funding? I wonder if that increases tourism. We should check that out and test that out sometime. If anybody knows in the comments, let me know, because that is a topic that I want to cover, and it just occurred to me that we could turn that budget up. Power-wise, nuclear. We're good there. Now that should produce so much power that I think we can turn off our solar updrafts for now. Yeah, we're making a ton of power. So let's disable these before we go. Off, and double check our power now. Yeah, so we're in the green. We have these as a backup. Worst case, we'll turn these on. We'll drop one more power plant into the city, and then by that point, we should be at where we can add the fusion power plant in. Now we're at 60,000 right now. Next bump is at 75. That gets us our airport, another area, and then 90 on this one is what gets us our last area, international airport, and our monuments. So we're making some really good progress. I'm excited about this one. I want to keep cranking this out. Want to get all those monuments in there. Basically build as dense of a downtown as we can so that that central park kind of really pops in the center of it all. And then we can start kind of feathering it out a little bit. I tend to have these really harsh lines on the edges of my map on console, only because it is kind of tough with the limited tiles. 9 tiles is tough. There's a couple mods on the PC that would allow us to get a little bit crazier in where we build. I think one is 25 tiles, and it basically lets you... Is it 20 or 25? It lets you buy all of the tiles that you see that are possibly accessible. The 81 tiles mod will even let you go all the way out to the edge of the map. So in a map editor, like when you're building it, I mean, you are designing the terrain all the way up to the edge of the map as far as you can see. and 81 tiles will actually let you build all the way up to the edge, but you need kind of a powerhouse PC to handle that. So mine's not bad, but it's not, I don't think it's that good, because the game tends to crash, unfortunately. Water-wise, we will need to look at, we'll save that for the next episode. Before I get carried away, you know the drill. Likes, comments, shares all help the channel a lot and are greatly appreciated. If you're new here, subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications, follow me on Twitter and join the Discord as well. But until the next one, this is Move the Mouse, signing off.